about what is happening in the Labour Party. We were talking to our chief political correspondent Vicky Young about this just a short while ago. Let's hear from a couple of Labour members, because to remind you, the Shadow Cabinet Minister, former Shadow Cabinet Minister Angela Eagle, of course, has said that she is confident that Labour MPs mounting a leadership challenge to Jeremy Corbyn will be able to make their case that he is no longer in a position to lead the parliamentary party. Nominations, to remind you, for the Labour leadership close tomorrow. The two challengers to Jeremy Corbyn, Angela Eagle and Owen Smith, have agreed that the one with the lesser support among party's MPs will withdraw from the race. Well, let's talk to two long-standing Labour members to see what they make of it all. Julia Brosnan joins me. She's a business owner and a lifelong Labour voter. She became a Labour member last year in order to elect Jeremy Corbyn. She's in Salford, as you can see, and in our studios in Hull this afternoon is Jake Wild. Again, lifelong Labour, but left the Labour Party earlier this year because he disagrees with Jeremy Corbyn's leadership. In which case, Jake, let's start with you. Why? What is not right as far as you're concerned about Jeremy Corbyn?
I rejoined the Labour Party on the 4th of July because it was about time that I grasped the nettle and said, look, I can complain all I like outside the Labour Party about the attitudes that Corbyn's leadership prevails amongst ordinary members, but I need to be in the party to do something about it. So I've rejoined. I'll have to pay, and I've paid the extra £25 in order to be able to vote against him. But it's the end of the broad church that we've seen under Corbyn's leadership, and without that broad church, Labour can't hope to form a government.
And Julia Brosnan, that is the point for a lot of Labour Party members, isn't it? That surely the aspiration has to be elected and for the leader of the party to walk into number 10. Otherwise, you can't help people with your policies.
Well, the broad church has actually left, hasn't it? I mean, Jeremy Corbyn was there. Most of his shadow cabinet left, and then however many it was, 150 odd members of the Parliamentary Labour Party had a fit of conscience all at the same time and voted against him. I mean, that was a broad church, and they broke the broad church. And what is happening at the moment is a leadership election which is completely unnecessary. It's very dangerous and very divisive, because while everybody's been, polishing up their CVs and sitting on television sofas, what has happened is that a Tory government has gone in by the back door, and it's a government with no mandate at all. Theresa May has come in and put a load of very right-wing people in position, and it's all gone unchallenged. I mean, it's absolutely appalling. So I despair, really, and I despair that the Labour Party, our friend Jake here has said he's joined to vote against Jeremy Corbyn. I mean, we should be voting against the Tories. We shouldn't be voting against each other. This should not happen. And what we're doing is we're letting a right-wing government just come in. I imagine they're popping their champagne corks every night now. They can't believe their luck, looking at the mess the Labour Party's in.
I mean, Jake, is that a valid point at the moment, that because there isn't a united voice, there isn't a coherent... the party is meant to be Her Majesty's opposition, and the argument goes that it's not currently providing that opposition.
Well, it's not coherent because of the leader. The leader has failed to be able to unite the party. A key component of being any leader is the ability to be able to draw together the different views and different wings of both the party, but also the support that the party is supposed to try and glean from the rest of the population. And what Corbyn has proved time and again is that he's only interested in a very narrow field of view, only likes to talk to people who agree with him already, and he doesn't want to stretch out to the people who we need to convince to vote, to switch their vote from Conservative to Labour.
But what we've seen is, Jake, is that the Parliamentary Labour Party is miles away from ordinary people. I mean, I had yet another bleeding heart letter from my MP, Jeff Smith of Withington here in Manchester, saying, it's with a heavy heart. Yet again, I have to disagree with our leader, Jeremy Corbyn. And he claims it's because out on the doorstep, people don't like Jeremy Corbyn. Well, I'm not surprised they don't like him. They don't like him because he's been stitched up by the media, including the BBC, by the establishment, and now by his own party. I mean, what chance has he got? When you're a socialist, as I'm a socialist, and Jeremy Corbyn is a socialist, you are arguing against the tide all the time. So that's why we do need to be united and on the doorstep, instead of listening to people saying, well, I don't like Jeremy Corbyn, you know, maybe he's got a weird face, maybe he doesn't do his shirt right, or he doesn't stand up at the right occasion. Let's talk about policies. Jeremy Corbyn is for social justice. He is against welfare cuts. He is against zero-hour contracts, and he is against privatisation. If that was explained, if Jeff Smith and others like him spent their time explaining that on the doorstep instead of caving in and going, oh yeah, see what you mean, he's not very good, is he? Then we might get somewhere. But as it is, policies seem to have gone out of the window, and you know, we're in this diabolical mess, and the Tories are getting on with their policies.
Julia, I mean,
Four interesting, sorry,
I'm
four
sorry to interrupt.
interesting
Julia,
policies.
do you feel, I'll ask both of you, but Julia, do you feel that the Labour Party that you have been a member of for so many years is or has the potential to split? If Jeremy Corbyn does win another vote, if he remains the leader, that actually we are looking at a scenario where there will be a split?
Well, there may very well be a split, and I have to say I was never a member of the Labour Party during the Iraq War. I mean, that's when I left, and I joined again when Jeremy Corbyn joined again to vote him in as leader. Yes, it may well split, and I think that is indicative of a wider fracture which is happening across the world and across political parties, because what is happening is the people at the top are not in tune with the people at the bottom, and that's not just about the Labour Party. So, I mean, I think, yes, you know, it may split, and that may be the way that things are going, but certainly I would not want to be a part of any party that had people in like Hilary Benn and people like that who are total traitors to everything that socialism stands for.
Jake, do you feel you or the people that you like within the Labour Party are traitors to fundamental, long-standing Labour values?
Well, the four policies that was listed were already existing in the manifesto, and this is one of the myths about Corbyn's leadership, is that he's introduced a whole raft of new policies, but he hasn't. They're the same policies that Labour fought on the last election, and actually all that Corbyn's leadership has proved is that it's a personality cult, and you'll see that from all the material that Corbyn's supporters put out. It's not about the Labour Party, it's not about the principles of the Labour Party. It's about a cult of Corbyn. And Corbyn has proved time and again that he's not up to that kind of level of adoration, because his leadership is second to zero when it comes to actually the people who actually count.
And Jake, very
voted
quickly, I'm so sorry to cut you off, but very quickly,
Sure.
Jake, if Corbyn does win through again, are we looking at a split? As I asked Julia, do you think your party will split?
I would hope not. I would hope that we would keep trying to build a coalition within the Labour Party and outside of it in order to defeat him.
Jake Wilde, Julia Brosnan, we could discuss it for so much longer, but I really, really appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us there. Jake Wilde in Hull, Julia Brosnan there in Salford. Many thanks.
Let's just bring you right up to date with what the International Olympic Committee are saying about Russia in the wake of that report that detailed and catalogued